Welcome to Jankuary day 12, and today we're going to set up a tripwire crossbow for a game called Guards. And Guards is it's coming out next Fest, February 4th. It's coming to Steam on March 1st, and currently just in the process of adding just more fun toys with the existing content that we've made, and fixing up some bugs and performance things, and just generally cleaning up the project. It's the core loop and everything's all done, the art style's picked and all that sort of stuff. So what I've been doing in the last month is like every Jankuary day, we do a little live stream and we create something, and I'm open to suggestions as well, like throw me something. But Discord community that's linked in the comments, like people in there have been suggesting stuff. So today's tripwire crossbow, but just quickly I want to show you something that I made yesterday, and maybe do some cleanup on it before we do the crossbow. So I've got this editor utility widget here for attachments. So it used to be the case previously that the archer looked like this, and so did the runner, because they just were the same model. I've only got 5 models, so there's also this guy back here. You can see he's got his little attachment on him now, and this guy's got a bucket head. Now, yeah, this is, as you can imagine, like a ranger kind of character. Now, the way this works is you've got this editor utility widget where you bring in a model that you want. So we'll take a SM attachment. So we'll take this hair, for example, and we'll sort of position it kind of where we want. Something like that. It's probably going to need to be a little bit bigger, a little bit lower. Okay, so say that's what we wanted. One of the things I've realised already, or just remembered, is that when this detail gets called here, we actually attach it to that actor, and we also set its relative transform immediately, and so we don't really want to do that. We probably want to update the relative, which will automatically happen. And so we've got a couple of properties basically. We've got the thing that is attached to, so this guy, let's compile this quickly. So this guy, this thing is attached to this guy. You see, it actually did move it still, so I still need to work on that. But then as you move this asset around, you can see now I'm getting a relative transform here from the bone that's been defined. And what I can do with that is I can right click and copy that. And we're looking at a mesh called hair male 0. So I can now go to my character definer and say, oh, I want the runner to actually have some hair. So you add that row to this table. Hair male _01. It's this one. And it was attached to the head socket, right? And this was the transform. So once you've saved this attachments table and you go back here, we can pick hair from the list. We can save that. And now what I could essentially do is delete this, because now this runner has got hair. And then you can just play the game. this guy's a little bit broken at the back there. The archer now has arrows on his back, which I love. Bless me. I need a button to get rid of that audio while I sneeze. So that's cool. I'm not gonna save the variants folder, or rather, I probably am gonna be editing this asset, but get rid of this row. So we're gonna make a weapon. So I've got an extra button here that I don't need. And another thing that I wanted to do was just, I suppose, have another variable in here that's static mesh. That comes from the selection in the viewport. So we've got get first selected actor here, and as long as this is valid, we're going to cast it to a static mesh actor. We're going to get the static mesh. Can I just get the mesh? Okay, get mesh. That just goes in there. The reason behind this is that I want it to be a little bit easier to set up the data table, so having all this information in one place is really nice. Basically, this is saying as long as we're not playing in editor, then we can do various things. So we put this down here, get the first selected actor, which is just getting the selected actors from the editor subsystem. And there, so this is an editor utility widget at the top right, and it allows me to do certain tooling while I'm in the editor viewport, which is really nice. Get the first selected actor as a static mesh, get its mesh, set the mesh, as long as this is not equal to last cached mesh actor. So as long as it's not the same, or, I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter because you might be changing it at runtime anyway. So that's that variable selected mesh goes into this data, and anything that's in this data category is actually going to appear in the details panel right here, which is super cool. So there's a details panel. It's just one of the options from a widget outliner. It's details view. You tell it what category you want to show, which is data, and then on pre-construction you set the object of that details view to this actor, this self. You can set it to any other actor as well. And then it's going to show me these properties. So I can compile this, and now when I look, I've got this selected static mesh here. So what I can do is say, I want sm underscore attachment again. This time I want, a cape. So I've got this Batman cape here, and so you can see here it's told me already which asset it is. And then if I was to position this kind of where I wanted it. Obviously this isn't how I'm going to do a cape. I've got a cape actor that actually has physics, so I wouldn't be using this method for a cape. It would be too static. But just as an example and a test quickly, it's like I kind of want this guy to have a cape. And also I want to fix the tool so that when I attach to actor, I actually keep both my world settings here, and then what I do is I get relative. Well, so from here anyway, it should just automatically update update the relative transform via this thing. So I'd pick this guy, and it would just tell me, okay, the relative offset for that was this. You can give it a wiggle around, and so it's like, oh, I actually want this to not be 0 in the X, and I want this to be specifically -10, -20, all the nice numbers, 0.25, 2.8, -2. So I can clean up all these numbers, and I might actually make a function for that as well at some point that's just like round out the transform or something. In fact, let's do that now as an example. So we'll create a new button and we'll call this round transform. So it's just gonna round the numbers. So what it does is it grabs this button, got these events, and you say on clicked, I want to get the first selected actor, and as long as that is valid, we're going to get its transform. We'll break the transform, and then we'll vector snaps to a grid here of the size, I guess 0.01. So then you can make a vector, sorry, make a transform. You could take this and you could say snap, break. We want to break a rotator. And then we could snap this float to the nearest 0.01 as well, right, or for all three of these. And then we could do the same vector snapped to grid for the scale. And I think that this will work. So we now get this and set actor transform to this new transform that we just made that's all vector snapped and gridded, a little bit nicer to use. So we look in here and we say, alright, just move this thing around a bit, got a little bit of shape and weirdness going on. So we've got all these weird numbers now. Is it round? It did move it down a little bit, but it's not done exactly what I wanted. So if we were to actually do it to the nearest 0.1, this is going to be a bad idea. I'm not a super fan of this because it's a little bit tighter in terms of what it's going to do to my transform. I mean, now it's still not really done it. So just curious, can I round? I guess there's no real way that I can figure out immediately that's going to help with that. So instead of messing with it, I'm just going to get rid of it and move on. So anyway, so that's attachments. We can close the attachment window and I think we got rid of the hair on this guy as well. And we'll start making a tripwire. So let's get rid of our archers and our other guys. Let's have this guy face the other way. And we've got this navigable area somewhere around here. So if we go build paths. Let's build that one more time. Static mesh receives a pre-shadow. Build paths. Okay, so no errors in the viewport now. Okay, so in order to make an item in this game, we go to the folder where one exists, and I'm just going to double check this crossbow here, see if it's got any code. So it has an ammo updated code that changes these, changes the visibility of these bolts on the top. And that's what this class does. That's fine. In fact, let's take a subclass of that one. It's a crossbow underscore tripwire. And just to double check the code in this pairing here, we've got 1, 2, 3 bolts. So really what we want is get components, get child components. So in the event that we have more of them, we can kind of figure how many should be visible, basically. So my editor is hanging right now. It's been a morning of not very great performance on my editor for whatever reason. So here we go. That's a little bit nicer. And then in our child, what we can do now is we can say, because obviously a tripwire kind of requires four bullets here. So now we have 4 bolts. And before we go any further, let's actually put that in the scene and test that that's the case. So firstly, it only had 3 ammo, and secondly, it seemed to break. So let's have a look at least set the ammo correctly. So it should be 4 ammo. We'll make sure that we've also got our original crossbow here as well. We'll get rid of these guys. Okay, so it's not great. What we need to do, let's double check this. So how many components have we found? Oh, we have found a lot of components. It's all these bolts. So what I'll do is I'll tag these. I'll just tag this ammo. That means that this one's missing a tag. I didn't realise that these two were children of the item mesh itself, so It's a little bit nicer. So each of these that has the tag ammo is eligible, and in fact we're going to have to move this into its own sort of function, which is like get ammo meshes. From here what we can do is we can ask this question, is it ammo? Promote this to a local variable ammo meshes. Make that a array so that we can add these, and this is just local scope within this function, and then we're going to return that here like this, and then we'll just rename the output of that. So that's cool, and then when the ammo is updated, just grab those. We'll just do it each on that instead of this. The reason that was necessary instead of doing it inside this graph is that this index would be off, and then it wouldn't work very well. So that's cool. Okay, so we've made an improvement to the crossbow, and now we're about to set up the type of projectile that this crossbow fires. So by default it's this bolt, and what bolt does is it ties people to the floor. So I actually don't really want to do that. I'm going to make a new one called a tripwire. And what this is going to do is mostly ignore everything that the other one did. This function should probably be on the parent projectile, I've realised. Because on begin play we have an actor, and we basically want it to immediately play a multicasted sound one time at the beginning of its life early on, but not for late joiners, not for people that are seeing this actor later. So we've got this arrow fly cue that I'm going to stick onto here. And that's all. That's all. It's just a little bit nicer. Like that shouldn't have been on that child. So what we'll do is we'll just double check the bolt as well. Event graph. Yeah, we don't want to override this at all, because we just moved it to the parent, so that's fixed. And then we've got this fire projectile as well, so we'll just check the event graph of this. And this one's just saying if this projectile hits someone, it sets them on fire, so that's cool. And then we've got this event. Cool, so for the tripwire, what this one does, firstly, on destroyed, does it debug and destroy constraints? No, it's not going to have any constraints. If you interact with this, it makes a bow pickup sound and rearms your crossbow. True. Very true. Let's just double check that it doesn't care about projectile type right now, but that's fine. The fact that this is a crossbow as well is like kind of lame. I mean, I should really reparent all of this to the upper class so that the bolt and the tripwire can both use it, but that's something I can do at a later date. So what we want to do is, we've got all that stuff. We've got like a deal damage override where it creates a whole load of attachments and stuff, so it's like we don't really want that. We don't really want static attachments or moving attachments or attachment destruction or attachment fracture or attachment updates. We don't really want a root attachment function or a root attachment variable. We don't want any constraints. We don't need to project any wall pins. We don't need to disable any overlaps. So then I can compile this. We'll just double check what's wrong. We've got on target revived. So that doesn't matter for us either. So all we've got is the ability to rearm from this arrow. So if I go to the tripwire weapon and set this to tripwire. So this is the tripwire. Just lets me rearm. This one will attempt to pin the enemy. My one will just go straight. We'll kill him, but it will just go straight through. And I'm just wondering if I do want to retain like. At one point I was thinking the tripwire should be capable of actually attaching to an enemy and then like attaching between two enemies and moving around the scene and evaluating if anyone's between, so you can basically create like a moving clothesline. And if that's the case, then there is a function that we would want here, which is this this static attachment. It would only ever be static attachment, and it would be on dealing damage. This whole little function here, where it takes the hit, it gets the nearest bone from the hit. And so this hit's already calculated at the time of this function occurring. We get the nearest bone, and then we make a relative transform, and we set up the attachment. So it's like, can I move set static attachment to the parent class? It's going to change the projectile. It's going to assign itself to the attachment to get rid of some functions here, which means we would want to move these functions up as well. And then the next question is, instead of doing it in the parent projectile, all projectiles can now attach. It seems a bit weird. Is we'll have it all within a component. But either way, let's just take the basic attachment function for now. Quickly check if anything's going on here, because I do often miss these any messages, so that's fine. So now, when damage is dealt, this this new tripwire bolt will attach.
Got lucky with that one.
I didn't see an attachment. We need someone with more health as well. We'll take the fighter. This is something that we haven't done here, but have a look at that. So we've set up an attachment, we get all the way to this location as well. Cool. So what's not happening in this instance here is we haven't got on attachment updated here, which is just a last final function that just tells the bolt to update. So I would move all of this stuff to a single function at some point, because anytime I fix a bug, I'm going to have two locations to fix it. But in the interest of speed, I'm going to create some tech debt. It just means not using the tripwire bolt. It's not ready until that's done. So you have this update attachment here, and I believe that we would also call this on attachment updated in other locations. In this case, it's only called here, so we'll just leave it. That guy didn't like that. I forgot that he's got more health. Oh. I got that guy. Oh, the bolt was in the head though. Alright. So one thing is it disappears when it hits regular floors, which I believe was part of this logic. So it's like, if the damaged actor is not, then we would do this other code path. It's not a character. So yeah, you can see all these wires here, like sort of like fallback design. So it's like go one route or the other and always come back and sort of do some stuff with the local variables of this function that we've previously configured. And if none of this stuff is true, then we just sort of fail. And sometimes I just put these in functions, but not this time. It's like the arrow fell off, but okay. So making the actual tripwire part. Essentially, when this actor begins life, start find nearest, or like connect tripwire. So this just does. This is probably not the best use of get all actors of class, but I'm pretty sure that get sphere overlap actors, overlap actors and sphere overlap actors like this, actor location. I'm not going to be able to find this projectile because I've disabled its collision, but we could try. So let's just say that the range is 800 for now. Tripwire range. And let's say that the object types that it's looking for is obviously whatever this is, which is projectile. Which we know here is overlapping with certain things. So we only want to find tripwires. And we want to avoid ourselves being entered into that list. And then if there are any in that range, say for each, we'll make a new function attached to tag. And what this will take is cast to tripwire. This will take a tripwire projector. And so now between this world location and the world location of this other tripwire, we would draw a new sort of like connection between the two actors. So yeah, this happens on the server, and what we do is we connect tripwires, we do the sphere, we find the tripwires and we attach to each of them. What this does is it sets up a array here that will actually unwrap. We'll add this tripwire to it. We'll worry about disconnecting it later. And we'll call an onRep, so that triggers the onRep event, which is this event here, which will be update tripwire visuals, and that will happen on this side. Now, we'll start considering the moving tripwires in a second, but first really what I want to do is let's go through this array. The most obvious thing is like actually connect the wires. So for each attached wire, I'm going to create a component forget which component it is. Like a mesh spline mesh component, yeah. Let's just look at a quick video on this because I've actually not done it in a while. This is pretty much it. It's a cable actor in this case. I don't have cable actors. Why have you got cable actors?
And get started. There are a couple of things we should consider when we want to make ropes and cables in Unreal, based on whether the simulation and physics are important for you or the graphics and how they look. In this video I'll cover the easiest way to go in order to make a sim. You can see that it already has the to type cable here, and
so why have you got cables? Maybe I disabled cables. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll tell you what, we can worry about the artwork later. Let's do just straight up visual stuff. So we can do ontick, and I'll just run this function for now, which will draw a line between this actor's location and this actor's location, and we'll just double check that they can even see each other first. And we can get rid of this guy. So it knew it for like a frame. I'm guessing it's because this actor doesn't tick. Yeah, this actor doesn't tick, but it does now. Cool, so we get this wire, and the idea is we're going to trip over this wire. So that's cool. Now we just need to draw a mesh between those two. I'm going to add, for now, let's just make this really simple. It's a static mesh, it's called wire. And the viewport, it's this kind of thing. Yeah, so it's just a basic wire. In fact, we'll make it brightly coloured if we can. One thing I need to think about as well is setting this up on a scene component, because what we need is to have this component just look at the other wire. Yeah, it's going to be from the tip of the arrow actually around here. And then this this is the wire origin, I guess, or wire root. And it's the wire root that we're going to be set rotation. We're going to be setting the world rotation of this to the look at rotation between these two actors. So we start at myself and we look at the other ones. In fact, we look at the root, the wire roots now, because we're going to connect between the two wire roots rather than the spheres. So we do that. We set the look rotation. We also get the distance of this. In fact, we can just call distance, which will automatically absolute it as well. And then what we want to do is we want to get this wire. We want to set it up in this viewport to be sort of the length of 1, which I think just means that this is 0.1 length. Now, if I multiply this by 2, 3, 4, 5, you can see that it's kind of offsetting, which is what I'm trying to avoid really. Trying to get it so that let's have a look at wireframe here. You can see there's a little bit of a lip. Wait, is there? This is the root location. So it's 0, minus 50, and then this wire is probably like 5. The idea is you scale this up, and the intention is, at least, that it inherits nicely. But apparently I'm not as lucky as I thought. Yeah, because it's pretty simple. From here, you just extend. So that sucks. This was supposed to be simple. Time is it? 7. Okay, I've already got to finish. So I've got a quick idea. What I'll do is just open the modeling tools. I'll move the pivot for this to the center bottom, accept that. I'm not allowed to edit, cannot modify the built-in engine asset, that's fine, I'm going to steal it. So let's copy it here. Static mesh for a wire. That goes on here. Let's edit the pivot one more time. Center, bottom, accept. We also want to be like 0.0, 0.02, 2.1. Which just makes it a unit long and very thin. So then what we can do is we can get the X form and just allow that. Wait, Wait, shouldn't it reset it? Bake it. There we go. This is baked. Right, I can get rid of that. Go here and use my SM wire, which now I should be able to just. Oh, hello. Why are you being weird? Why would it rotate on these odd axes? Right, where's that mesh gone? I guess it's your Z. It's your Z that's being affected. Let's rotate this wire and then bake that rotation. And now if I, yeah, we go, right. Cool, so now we've got, oh, a bad blueprint. On-rep ammo should not be called from blueprint. I don't know what you're on about, game. Let's just close all these down. So I don't know where that error is coming from, but if we were to just save this and then asset actions reload, I think it's just had like some sort of weird leak while I'm working on it. Or it's just going to tell me forever now that the function on-rep ammo was called, and that makes no sense because I can't physically call that function. So let's just restart the editor. So now that I've got that mesh set up correctly in the pivot sort of orientations that I need, I can essentially just set the scale of it to the distance, and I can set the rotation just to look at the other tripwire, and then I've got a very rudimentary tripwire, and then I just need to set up a collision box to handle overlaps and knock out the targets. Okay, so we're back. We've still got our little crossbow here. What we want to do is go check out the tripwire projectile, make sure that it's not still giving us the same error about not being able to compile. So we connect the tripwire, we update the visuals, we get this, we set the wire's routes, set scale world 3D, split this, and we're just extending it on the x-axis. So this is distance, and this is 1 and 1, I believe. Yeah. So that should be it. So I think it's just 10 times longer than it needs to be. Okay, so now that we've got a tripwire in between these two, and you know that tripwire could be attached to that character and this, if I remember. Okay. The items on the ground damage you, which is great. So get rid of this debug for now. And the last thing we really need to do is set up the collision on this, maybe just to overlap. Or I could just set it up to custom, it doesn't overlap anything except pawns. And then I can just go and take a look at the actual collision for this and decide if I want to change it. So I do want to change it. I want to add basic box collision, and I want that box collision to just be a little bit thicker. So that's cool, and then what I'm going to do, that's fine, and so the visibility for this is off by default, and so is the collision enabled check, so it's not colliding either. And when we replicate some attached wires, it's basically if it's not empty, okay, so if the wires are in, set visibility as well to true. Now, if there are no, if it is empty, then it should be no collision and not visible. And then we've also got this sequence, we'll call this update tripwire. So this is sort of the cosmetic side on the top here. This is just managing how it looks, and then for the authority side we also just want to double check the distance as well. So again, we would get each of these, we would get the distance here. On the authority, for every one of these, if the distance is greater than the tripwire range, then we're going to need to remove that tripwire from the array. So we would actually reverse each through this, because we're going to be changing the scope of it as we move. And then also, because we're removing things from it, we should always be validating here as well. Okay, so we're just going to remove an item from that array which is this item here. Cool. If it's more than the tripwire range. That just means if I've got two characters, let's say on one of them I paint the other guy with an arrow, and then I paint this. Now as I move, it's like I create a tripwire, which is great. And as soon as I get out of range, it goes away, which is cool. And also they don't reattach, you know. It's just they snap, but they don't reattach. And if I do show collision as well, I should see that there's like a box collision all the way down this line, which I'm about to use for triggering the player, triggering on overlap here. We can cast a character template, and if that happens, we just basically enter KO. And what this does is it just forces the character into the KO state. So that's good. So at this point we only need one character in standalone, and we need this character over here to basically run at us. So apparently that just tripped that guy over immediately, which so that's pretty funny. And the only last thing that we need to do is actually add an impulse to the character's legs. So get mesh, add impulse at location. We want to add the impulse at the location where this event actually happened, and we want to add it in the direction that that character was moving. So what we can do is we can get the velocity here. We can move all of this, class of function, trip target. So basically what we want is the velocity here to be cached, because as soon as we trip him, his velocity will be empty. And we'll use that velocity multiplied by some factor to turn it into a decent strength, basically. So we'll choose like 500, because usually this sort of stuff, it needs big values. So we'll cache the velocity, enter KO, add an impulse. Just get rid of this. Okay, so we trip a target, we cast to it, we get its velocity, we cache that, we enter KO, which is a function I've got on my character, which sets him into ragdoll state. And once he's done that, we add an impulse to the nearest bone. We'll try this. I'm not 100% sure this is going to be the right stuff, but we'll see. Yeah, let's find out. Let's put this guy even further away. Okay, so the bone that we got was none, and the hit bone that we got was also none. So we could also just do nearest as well. so there was no bone. So what we need is get mesh. Find the closest bone to this test location, just use that. And that's where we're going to do our velocity, and we're going to use 5,000 this time. Okay. So just looking at the log there to see what's going on, because I'm not getting a nice anything really. There is a velocity. We do multiply it by quite the amount. And then we attempt to add an impulse. Oh, I multiplied the location. Ha! Wait a second. I did this the wrong way around. This is the location. And this is the velocity. We'll actually only do this by 500 because that number looked insane. Okay, so this should be better.
Please. Please.
It's definitely in the correct direction. So what I want to do is offset this. Actually, I want to normalize. Do I want to normalize? I don't know. I just want to make sure that there's some up. So I'm just going to add, I don't know, 500 to the up impulse, basically. Z, yeah. Let's try that. I knocked myself out. More up. Enhance. Enhance, enhance, enhance. Hello. Enhance again. It just keeps going. Yeah, I think we're getting there. I'd say well, I'll probably go 515. Let's try that. It's like this camp, which is perfect. It's exactly what we want. Okay, so now the trick is to have a whole load of enemies, and they're all of different types, like chieftains and runners. There's there's a fighter here. What else have we got? We've got a shaman, look, so ranged. Got the red runner. So that'd be funny. Okay. Okay, this is the moment. This is the moment of test. They all died in pretty much the same way, which was sad. So, and also the bomber guy just like killed everyone at the end. What I want to do is put the red runner at the back, I guess. So yeah, they all kind of twisted in the same way. If that makes sense. So I'm gonna add torque in degrees, and it's just going to be random unit vector multiplied by some float value like 50,000 with an acceleration change, and we'll see if that just offers like that. I feel like they're always dying in the same way. So what I'll get here is a player stat as well. Okay. Okay, and then I guess it could do with like a sound, because there's no sound, I guess, happening. Oh. Okay, so yeah, it'd be nice to have a sound. So let's go to sound.org. Let's go to find a twang, and then we also want Creative Commons only. It's a bit much. Yeah, sorry mate. That'll do. That's the sound. What does it say? You can apply a modified distributor that promotes purposes or without. They've dedicated the work to the public domain. Thank you, Magnus. Download. No pride amongst thieves. So it's just audio underscore twang underscore twang. Do that. Okay. It's back in my engine where my crossbow bolt is. I will now just import a underscore twang, and I will also investigate the arrow queue. I will be moving or copying this arrow queue to this folder and renaming it to a underscore twang underscore queue. And inside the twang queue, of course, we wouldn't have no choice but to implement the twang. which can pitch shift. Which can pitch shift quite dramatically, I would say. It's like kind of cool music. Okay, so what if this was the range? Oh, what's going on here? It's like 0.4. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm trying to make this a little bit quieter. There we go. Cool, so that twang happens, basically. Play sound location. It's the twang. It's the twag. I keep writing twag. Twang. It's the twang cue, and it's playing at the location of the nearest bone. Wonderful. In fact, why aren't we using the location that... it's fine. It's like, here's the overlap and here's the thing, and this is, if this is where the overlap is, it's where I'm going to play the sound, of course, and then that's just it. That's just it. And that is just on trip target, which is on overlap, I guess. The issue, I think, I don't think I'm ever hitting this for whatever reason. For whatever reason, I don't think I'm getting here on a client. Although I'm not the client, I am. Maybe it's just too quiet. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe that modulator is just not helping us out here. So it's a game audio. Does it have an attenuation? That's the key. Yes, it does.
Hello.
I heard no twangs. I heard no twang. What's the attenuation of the twang? Take me to the map, please. The attenuation of the twang is pretty big. Can I... What happened? It just made a sound. I don't even know where it made it. That was concerning. Maybe I'll turn my game sounds down. Maybe that's all this is.
Lucky without me.
Okay, I think it's just like I'm just going crazy or something. So projectile wires. It's got to be. So it's not this. This isn't doing it. The sound is there, by the way. I can just like barely hear the bloody thing. So we take this, we just reset this to what it was. Let's try that.
Here. Surrender. Did you breathe now and
Completely unaudible. Annoyingly inaudible, some would say. I mean, here it's like, it's loud. It's a loud sound. Enable bus sound. I don't even know. Enable attenuation debugging. It has the voice attenuation. Well, let's just use close.
they're on to us. Surrender or die.
Boing, 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 boing. Okay, so the next test.
What do we have?
It didn't work.
Here. Here. Got lucky with that one.
I attached those guys together. What I need to do is like, I need to get that guy and then that guy. That didn't work. That range on that tripwire is terrible. Let's increase that range. 800? Nah. 15 meters.
Hey.
15 meters still wasn't enough. More meters. 2,000.
Show yourselves.
Please.
Okay. I don't want it to. Create an attachment until it hits the ground, right? So it does all this crap. So on event begin, play was the wrong place to call the connect tripwire. Basically, it's like after the attachment has been created here, we would do this. Do this right here. Also, additionally, is this all on the authority? It is. Cool. So now it's only when it lands, so that's a little bit better.
What?
Huh?
So that's how it is then.
Oh, come on. Okay. Oh, and yeah, of course it's not going to connect because I got rid of this stuff. Although to be fair, it's basically like I don't care about destroyed because ignore because snapshot destroys parent character, I guess. The snapshot that I built on stream the other day, and then do care about fracture actors, and obviously if it can't cast to a fracture actor, then we should be doing this connect tripwire earlier.
This is unusual. Hello.
You tripped on yourself, sir. That's pretty funny. So how do I stop them tripping on their own wire? Because that kind of defeats the fun of like making them run at you and tripping everyone else up. Nailed it. Oh, these tripwires can be pretty long now. I'm kind of not feeling that range. Why does it always feel a little bit wrong?
Whoa.
Shit. Doink.
didn't think it would end like this.
That guy was about to walk and trip through it, which would have been amazing. I'll probably reproduce that. So here, bam.
Who goes there? Surrender or die.
Blaze.
It'd be so much funnier if that guy tripped and like fell. I guess the this explosive thing here just says like when KO, like just explode, but it would obviously be more hilarious if the moment that this happens he takes a trip and then drops his item and explodes.
Oh. Engineer.
Blaze.
How about these? You got lucky.
I'm getting a lot of flying death going on. It's almost as if I'm not dropping my items when I die or something.
You got lucky with that one.
Yeah, I tried to make an optimization and I'm realizing it's not going to work because I'm using so much physics. I can't really enable these update rate optimizations because it just makes it not work. So now two clients, one on either side. Nice. Tripwire, connect tripwire, attach to target, set the targets, update the tripwire, go to the event graph, check out the overlap, trip the target, enter KO. Yeah, there's a thing here where like, we should always play the sound, but sometimes we can't add the force, because sometimes it's not quite dead yet. Also, the only person that should be calling KO is the server. So we'll actually move all of this over like so. We'll just say, hey, when this overlap happens, that's all good, and then it's like server only from here on. Authority. And then also any physics. Is any simulating physics? And then if they are, if any are, then we can add this. It just stops us getting some log spam. But yeah, that's time, I think. Call it.
Your weapons challenge me. See if you can
Oh god, he destroyed us. Let's try one more time here. It just boings randomly, apparently, for any overlapper. That's great. It's just occasionally you just hear boing, boing. Alright, cool. Catch you for Jankuary 13. That was Tripwire Crossbows. See you next time.